Good afternoon and welcome to the City Council meeting of February 26, 2024. I'll call this meeting to order and ask that you all rise for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you to our very own Tennille Towns for the singing of our national anthem and the National Film Board for the images of our country. Moving on now, if you just give me a moment to an opportunity to read our land acknowledgement. The city respectfully acknowledges the Beaver Cree, Dene, and Métis people as the original caretakers of these lands and surrounding areas. We are grateful to live, learn, work, and play on Treaty 8 territory within Turtle Island and acknowledge these lands have been home to diverse and sovereign First Nations and Inuit nations since time immemorial. Thank you for that. Looking for the adoption of the previous council minutes, recognizing Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I move that council adopt the minutes of the city council meeting held February 12th as presented.
Thank you for that. That motion is in order. I'll call a question.
Councillor Blackmore in favour.
Thanks for that. That carries unanimously. Moving on to the adoption of today's agenda, recognizing Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I move to adopt the agenda with the addition of item 7.2, the Municipal Census.
Thank you for that. That motion is in order. Seeing no one else in the queue, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Moving on to delegations for today. As with always, we welcome people to come to council. We just ask that you let us know ahead of time. If we are having an evening session, there is a 6 p.m. option. This afternoon, we had one delegation let us know ahead of time, and I'll welcome up to the table, the presenters table, Ms. Tanya Wald from the Sunrise House. We'll give you a couple of minutes to get set up, and then once you're there, if you could just let those who are watching at home know your name and take 5 minutes to present to council, and they may have questions from you. Thanks.
That's good. All right, good afternoon. My name is Tanya Wald, I'm the Executive Director over at Sunrise House, and I am here to give a bit of an update. So I guess the big update is December 22nd, we moved into the new building because Friday before Christmas, a good time to move. But yeah, it's been going incredibly well. Still pieces of the building we're setting up a little bit. The youth are really enjoying it. They've got space. We noticed very quickly the change in feeling on top of each other to, oh, I can move over here and I can utilize this space and that space. And it's been really great. A lot of our community partners are already coming in and doing various programming, which both for our youth as well as youth and community. Our numbers, as you know, have been increasing over the last few years, and our move could not have happened at a better time. We've been while we're under capacity in our new building, we are over capacity of the old building. So we had our busiest Christmas in my entire time being with Sunrise House. It was definitely needed. I'm incredibly grateful. We have so much support from, of course, our city as well as many people and companies and whatnot. So yeah, we are in, open, and it's good. Our housing, we have, as you know, 11 housing units. 5 of those have already been filled. And now we're just giving a bit of a break before we move anyone else in, probably more in March. And the youth that are moving in there they're thriving immediately, just having their own space and their own ability to grow and learn and do things differently and get them out of shelter. So yeah, I'm incredibly grateful. I'm very excited. If you haven't been over to see it, you can let me know. And I'm just happy to answer any questions about the buildings.
Perfect.
I could talk all day.
Well, thank you for that update. I know Council does have a few questions. I'll recognize Councillor Blackmore first.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. So, Tanya, it's just so great to see you in that new building, and we're so pleased that everything is working out well. I know you ran a stellar capital campaign, as Sunrise House is quite able to ear up the community, as everyone in Grande Prairie believes in the work that you do. So can you just give us a refresh on how your capital campaign worked out, if you have any outstanding dollars that you want to raise or anything that you want to tell the community about?
Sure. Yeah, our capital campaign went extremely well. We set out to raise just under $6.5 million. We have about $500,000, but we do have. I'm confident in those last dollars.
$500,000 left to raise.
Yeah. The majority of that did come. A lot of it did come from community. So from, government municipality was around a little over $2 million, and the rest has come from our fundraising and from our people. So yeah. So really, overall, I'm thrilled with it and how quickly it went. Once we got building is when people really saw and could understand and come in and see it and really understand what they were doing. We still have people buying locks for the sun, which is really cool. And that's up in front of our building now, which is nice to see. And so, yeah, went really well.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Congratulations on the last Neil Towns event and, of course, all your fundraising throughout. My question to you is on your old site. Mm-hmm. Do you still own that? Are you selling it? Are you leasing it?
No. So the old building has sold. We actually sold that building to Wapiti House. So that is their new foundations program. So it's a sober living house, which I was so excited for that because it was a big gap that we felt, they felt. So yeah, they're in and program is running.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Thiessen.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. Thanks for coming in, Ms. Walt. I love it when a plan comes together, especially with Grande Prairie and how so many community partners come to thrive in your success or to help you to thrive in your own success. So this is a really good thing that's meeting a lot of needs for our youth in the community. Now, you said that the new building is, like the old building was too small. The new building is not quite full yet. How many more spaces for youth when you move these next kids in March would you have left in case the need arises?
Oh, well, the housing floor, there's 11 units. And so right now we've got 5. So we'd probably move a couple more in March. We're sort of doing a bit of a staggered intake. So we also have a staggered outtake, essentially. On the shelter floor, where we have 24 beds. So on that floor, we've been sitting between 12 and 15, which is what we predicted to be. So that floor will have room. We have room for growth, especially on the shelter floor. And we did that very intentionally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It's been a number of years. Is there anything that you need in that house right now that the average person maybe be able to donate? Like I'm talking artwork or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is, sort of day-to-day supplies. We continue to need those, whether it's non-perishables, school supplies, art supplies. Our housing units, we're fully furnishing and fully outfitting those kitchens. So actually putting together packages of move out, because they have everything to move in. So packaging up for them to move out. Yeah, so all of that, really all of the same things continue on. Hygiene, toiletries, all of those things. Yeah. In terms of furnishings, whatnot, we're pretty well done in terms of furniture and things like that. And we have so much youth artwork. We're getting all that up. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'll wander over one day and knock on the door and see if you'll let me in and have a look.
I'll think about it. Yeah. No, just kidding. Yes, of course.
I suggest you call ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. We are planning to do, we had planned originally, we were going to do a grand opening before we opened, and where we could invite everyone in. And we had a few really minor delays, but just that pushed us so close to Christmas, and I could not spend Christmas in the old building. It was packed up. It wasn't set up. So we moved everyone in before doing anything. So we are planning in the spring to do a large sort of grand opening, invite, all of our donors, all of our community partners, everybody to come and celebrate with us at that time. But certainly I welcome if you want to come in and see it before, just to reach out and come see me.
Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you. Well, it certainly is exciting, and I'm glad you have room to grow. I also sincerely hope we never see it full. I'm curious, how are things going in the community right now for referral to mental health services and those other? How are you doing at finding the resources you need for these kids right now? And are there any areas of advocacy we should be maybe paying attention to?
Yeah, the mental health and addictions the mental health has. We're very much lacking mental health supports. And in terms of immediacy, like when we have emergencies and we're sending them to ER, emergency rooms aren't set up to, So definitely the mental health, addictions. I mean, we do have the one opening up out by Hythe, which I can't wait for that to open up the youth treatment facility there, which will make a huge difference for us. But yeah, we sit kids on either wait lists or just not getting it I don't know how to speak very well to that right now, but yeah, we definitely need to see more psychiatry, more those that emergency mental health trained individuals, either in the emergency rooms or in the clinics. We are running regular health clinics in the new building, so where we have a nurse come in and different community partners come in and do some counseling and do different things. So we're working on getting more of those pieces within the building to try to sort of fill some of those gaps. Mm-hmm.
Just had a quick question before I go to Councillor O'Connor. Can you tell me what's left to do? I'm assuming landscaping, but is everything else done with the facility?
Yeah, pretty much. Landscaping is actually, they seeded. So we'll see in the spring sort of how everything comes up. Left to do, we have the court out front, the asphalt courts. We want to get a basketball net up in there in the spring. We want to get some gardens built, the garden boxes. We had them at the old building. The youth loved them. So we want to get those in the spring and just do more of the outside, just making it a bit more fun and livable. It's all been fenced and all the slats are in, so you can't see in the yard, which is really great. It's locked off, so it's secure. And so, yeah, really come summer, we'll be setting up those outside spaces for sure. Yeah.
Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Congratulations, Tanya. It's been a long time coming. And just want to say, you will let me in, right? If I come over and do a visit, I want to cut out O'Toole out of this.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'll call ahead. Thanks.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that we're a very proud supporter. Previous council approved cash in addition to support through development fees and building fees. And then this council at the beginning of this term approved the land. And so we just really wanted to say that we're really proud to be part of this project. We're hoping you'll take a picture with us maybe to sort of finalize, our contribution to date. And I know that my council colleagues and the entire organization want to thank you for the work that Sunrise House and your capital campaign, your board of directors, as well as your team, the work that they do on a daily basis. Supporting youth in our community is not only a strategic priority, but I know it's a priority of our community as a whole. So thank you for the work you're doing, and I know you will continue to do. So we're just hoping you'll take a picture with us.
Well, and I'll just say, we had all our people at Development Services and they were so great to work with, and because trust me, I had a lot of questions and they were always welcome. So I really appreciate there was a lot of work in the background that I had no idea till we got into the build. And so it was very much appreciated, just the level of help and support and helping us understand the whys and the hows and everything. So I'm also very grateful for that relationship.
Thank you. Yeah. And so the total contribution from the city of Grande Prairie is just under $1 million. And so we're happy to do a photo with you if you would allow us. Okay. Council, let's go to the other side of the table and we'll do a check presentation. Not today.
Thank you. I'll give you that $20.
All right, guys. Nice big smiles.
Awesome. Thanks. You're welcome. Thanks for coming, Tanya. All right. Thank you again to Ms. Wald from the Grande Prairie Youth Emergency Shelter and the update on the Sunrise House. Now moving on to reports. Item 7.1, Stormwater Utility Models. I will turn this over to Mr. Glavin for introduction.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. So we have a brief presentation that should be on your screens now, just to go over what you can expect for the public information sessions that we're holding tomorrow and just general opportunities for people to provide input over the coming couple weeks here before we return to council. So moving on here for tomorrow at the open house, we have 2 sessions, one tomorrow morning starting at 11:30 to 1:30, as well as tomorrow evening from 4 to 7 at the Teresa Sargent Hall at Montrose Cultural Center. What you can expect when you're there is information on the stormwater system broadly, as well as information on the proposed models. We do have estimator tools that will be live, so if somebody wanted to look at their particular property and see how they performed under each one of the models, that will be there. We'll also have some takeaway materials for people for each model that they can take away that shows what they do and how they do it. We'll have numerous staff there to respond to questions, and we'll encourage open dialogue and provide some opportunity for input. Just a brief overview of budget, looking over from 2019 to 2029. So 2019, this is pre-discussion of the stormwater utility model. So you'll notice in here that there's no administrative overhead, and that's not that there isn't administrative overhead. It just wasn't calculated as part of the budget at that time, as that wasn't part of our process. Moving into 2024, this is our half year, and you can see at the top where half of it is property tax funded, the other half is funded through the stormwater utility. And you'll notice that my halves aren't truly halves, and that's because of the administrative overhead now being put in, as well as the third-party billing and implementation. That's why there's a higher cost in the stormwater utility funded portion. 2025 represents the first full year, And then in 2029, the numbers have been inflation adjusted. And you'll notice, though, that third-party building and implementation decreases as you get into 29. That is because of the implementation costs that we have budgeted that end in 2027. So we'll no longer be paying those fees in 2029, and that's why they don't show up there and they show a decrease. Moving on to the stormwater capital budget, again, looking at 10 years. In 2019, you'll see that there was only 1.5 million, and this goes back to, again, where because we didn't have the stormwater utility in place, things that were in the road network budget, so the road rehabilitation capital funding, aren't included. So we did have 1.5 million in that year that was dedicated to storm, but there was much more that was spent on storm. It just wasn't pulled out specifically in those tenders. However, going forward, you'll see that we have increased it, or showing at 4.5 million in perpetuity. Some of this is to smooth the utility rate so that we don't have extreme ups and downs as we go forward. And we have in the future pulled out those costs from the storm rehabilitation budget, and they will be budgeted for separately going forward. All right, so going into tomorrow, we will be presenting 4 different models. So the first one is the tiered model with a billing unit cap. That is the recommendation that was brought forward to council. That is the 6 tiers and 100 units. I'm not going to go through every line on here, but this is just a general overview of what you can expect to see tomorrow. So it'll show what the model is, how the charges are calculated, what you could expect to pay, and goes through some of the advantages and disadvantages. Moving on to the flat fee model, this is where every property is treated equally. So if you have 1 billing unit or 1,000 billing units under this model, you would pay 1 fee. So that would be $33.36 per month, or $400 annually, and that would be every single property. This would be similar to Calgary, that charges a fee like this across all properties. The next is the billing unit model with no cap. So this is where every billing unit would be charged at $6.85. So if you had 1 billing unit, it'd be $6.85. If you had 1,000 billing units, it would be $6,855 per month. The bracket model, this is one that we discussed very briefly last time at council, and council asked us to do a bit of work to see if we could bring that one forward. So we were able to bring it to get something that worked, and have put it out here. This is a hybrid approach. It's kind of a combination of the tiered billing unit model with a cap and the billing unit model with no cap and no tiers. So in this one, you start off with a higher base rate and incremental rate, and that lowers over time as you go through each one of the tiers. So the next steps after council, so as we said, tomorrow we'll be doing our open house at the Montrose Cultural Center. We have a stormwater utility survey that will be open until March 3rd. We'll also be making the estimator calculators and model information available online. Residents and businesses will be able to participate again through engage.cityofgp.com/stormwater-utility, where you can communicate with us there, as well as call in through 311 and they can reroute to the appropriate person. We plan to return to council on March 11th to present community feedback and request a selection of the model from council. After that, assuming a model is selected, we'll return to council on March 25th with a modified bylaw for approval. The March 25th date is the goal, depending on how much changed. If there was significant change in council direction, it may be a little bit longer to ensure we get the bylaw, but unless there was a dramatic change, we'd be able to hit that date. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thanks for that, Mr. Glavin. I'll recognize Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you, Mayor Clayton. I'm looking at the budgets, and I understand that 2019 and 2024 was put in because that was a motion you got from council. I'm curious though, it looks, so for administrative overhead and capital costs, it looks like a really dramatic jump that doesn't really exist necessarily, because it's just we accounted for things differently 5 years ago. I'm wondering if we asked for 2023 numbers, would those give us a more accurate of what we're spending in past years? How granular were you doing accounting in 2023?
Mr. Glavin?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. So in this year, in 2023, we technically don't have another line item specifically. However, we did make a number of assumptions and do some tracking on what time it would take for different units of the organization. So for example, HR, GIS. 2023 isn't the perfect year to do it because there's a substantial amount of work that has to be done in the setup of a utility. So GIS will not have near the involvement in future years that they had this year. So 2023 is not a great year to make many assumptions over. However, we did make a number of assumptions based on previous knowledge that we have on how much time we do dedicate to the stormwater utility that may have to be modified as we go forward if it appears that we've made a wrong assumption, but these should be in the ballpark of reasonableness.
Okay. And what about how granular were you in 2022?
Mr. Glenn?
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. Not particularly granular because we weren't trying to account for it separately.
Okay, thank you.
Recognizing Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Sorry, my question is regards, I don't see anything here that refers to churches. I understand that you have something to share with council on churches.
Is there a question?
Yeah, I'd like to see if there's how they're approaching churches in this model.
It's in a specific formula, or you just want to know how much overall churches are paying?
Yeah, I'd like to know how churches are going to be affected financially, as some of them are having difficulty since COVID.
Mr. Glavin?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. When it was initially approved with the different principles that administration would use to create the model, there was a decision made at that time to not have any grants or credits available to churches directly. I shouldn't say credits, but grants. So they're treated the same as any other non-residential property.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious, now that we're looking at 4 different models, it'd be interesting to see what the difference would be in whatever model. And I know there's still some work to be done, but I'd like to see some information on that, and I hope can see that possibly tomorrow, or is this too granular?
Mr. Glavin?
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. If we have a specific example of a property, we can run any of the calculators live and come up with those numbers tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
Councillor Blackmore?
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Chief Glavin, on the flat rate analysis that you provided today, I was expecting, because this is my memory of when we discussed this several months ago, that a flat rate would be a residential flat rate and a commercial flat rate, maybe divided into 2 segments, land over a certain size or land under a certain size. So that was sort of what I was expecting to see today. Is that a possible outcome that we could look at?
Chief Glavin?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. That wasn't the specific direction, but we did calculate those fees. So we do have what that would look like if we did split it in 2. So if we had a modified flat rate, which would have a low density residential tier and then everything else, it would be $695 a month for low density residential, and it would be $339 a month for high density residential and non-res. So quite a dramatic split. And the reason why you get that is that you have a lot of residential properties that are much smaller in impervious area than you have with non-residential properties that are typically much larger parcels, and there's less of them. So it's split. You have a much larger area split over a lesser amount of properties, and that's why it's significantly higher.
Okay. Yes, I do remember that. That was one of the reasons we weren't keen on that at the time, was because of the differential. Okay, thanks. That's all I need.
I'm going to jump in on that in a similar vein in regards to a flat fee model. So a flat fee model truly can be prescribed as council sees fit in regards to the number, as long as the total amount collected meets the demand in regards to the expenses of the stormwater utility. There are, I understand St. Albert, for example, does a flat fee. And so knowing that there's approximately $8 million that needs to be collected, this model, as you've explained here, is straight across the board. Can you tell me, for example, do you happen to know offhand what the low density, high density, and non-residential is in St. Albert? It's from my understanding, it's not the same fee for all three types of classification.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. No, it is. I think they have at least 3 different fees. It might be more. I think they have a low density fee, a high density residential fee, and then they have a commercial fee for sure. And I'm not sure if they might have 1 or 2 others.
Okay. Mr. Burke, you had something to add?
Yeah, based on the St. Albert model, I did have some information that the low density residential is about $16.39 per dwelling. Higher density is $11.24, and the commercial is $43. But it all is dependent on the mix of properties, so wouldn't be able to translate that directly to Grande Prairie, but that's what their rates are.
So it is possible in a flat fee model that council could prescribe a certain amount for low density, so a single family dwelling, a certain amount for a high density, and then in the non-residential, is it possible to have more than one classification or one grouping? Mr. Glavin.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. Yes, you could, and that would kind of just go back to, if you look at the tiered model that we initially presented, really it's, if we were to have 2 classifications within non-res, it's really just having a 2-tier system within non-res.
And if from consultation or consideration, council is interested in this flat fee model, how much time would you, and council had specifics in regards to what seems reasonable for a single family house to pay multi, and then you see what's left in regards to what's expected to collect in revenue. Has there been any consideration given to what it would look like in regards to non-residential being in 2 classifications? This model, in my opinion right now, doesn't make sense when you look at it as flat fee across the board, because, I mean, it doesn't make sense that a single family house pays the same monthly as a non-residential. However, if these numbers would were tweaked, have you given any consideration to what those numbers could represent, or would you prefer council to come back with numbers that represent what council is hearing in the community as a fair and reasonable number? Mr. Glavin.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. Beyond the tiering that we have initially considered and the flat rate, we haven't done any significant analysis on, a 2-tier system in non-res or another way of slicing it. But I think you hit the nail on the head, and that really is just coming up with how you recover the $8 million in change to run the storm system.
Okay. Thanks for that. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Maybe you answered this earlier, I'm not sure, but the $4.5 million in capital per year, I see, you had mentioned from 1.5, it goes up to 4.5. Is there any type of synopsis that we could show the public on exactly where that money goes? $4.5 million a year?
Mr. Glavin.
Yeah, we certainly could put it in, but yeah, essentially it goes into replacing the different types of storm infrastructure, whether that be pipes, catch basins, regrading ditches, culverts, anything that allows the water to flow. Yeah, we could definitely put something together that might make it a little bit easier for people to understand what it is, but those are the main types of components that you would see in there. And there, there's excavation, when you look into how you get the pipes in there, but
I imagine you have some sort of calculation on what goes to what area, perhaps. No different than road rehabilitation. And the reason I ask for this is the majority of comments that I've seen don't understand what this capital side is, right? And so if we can actually show where those dollars are going instead of, capturing rain in your rain barrel, that's not it, right? And so I think we have to be clearer.
So there is a capital plan that council approves every fall. Mr. Glavin, could you maybe expand on what some of the capital projects in 2024 and 2025 are?
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. I'll have to get back to you with specifics. A lot of capital projects in Storm are tied to road projects. So usually when we're going through and doing a major rehab, like when we do the Mr. Mike's Corner this year on 116th Avenue, there's significant storm infrastructure that you can't see below service that will be upgraded, which is quite expensive. So we could certainly put something together that articulates a little bit more, but a lot of them are tied to road projects.
Right. If I could ask if that's out for tomorrow, whether it's, sheets of paper or a poster, something that articulates to the public what that spend is.
I see no one else in the queue, so I will assume council has no more questions before we go to community consultation tomorrow. If there are any, questions that you think or information that being provided tomorrow at the consultation session would be valuable, I suggest email Mr. Burke and him and Mr. Glavin will get that together for council's information. All right, so I see nothing else. I'm going to give me 1 sec. Back to the appropriate screen. Moving on to item 7.2 today, Municipal Census. I'll look to Mr. Burke for introduction.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. This really is just in the previous budget discussions, funding was approved for administration to proceed with the census in 2024. We're now coming up to the deadline where we have to make that submission to the minister requesting beginning the census by February 28th. So really, this was just a check-in with council and seeking approval for a motion for the mayor to submit a letter to the province indicating that we are ready to proceed with census in 2024.
Thanks for that introduction. Recognizing Councillor Bressie.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I'm just happy to do business whenever appropriate. Great. I would move that council approve conducting a municipal census in 2024 and authorize Mayor Clayton to send a letter to the Minister of Municipal Affairs. And just speak to it. What this is about for me personally is provincial grant funding. We argued and advocated very hard for population to be a very large portion of how local government fiscal framework funding gets allocated. I was grateful to see it be a majority of that funding, and now I think it's incumbent on us to maximize how much funding we get under the population factor. I also know that the federal government, I think, really undercounted our residents, and if we do our own census, I'm very confident that we'll have a higher number than is currently being used to calculate our funding. So I think council should do this to make sure that our community receives the funding it needs to serve every single person that's here in Grande Prairie.
Great. Thank you for that. That motion is in order. I'll call the question.
Councillor O'Connor in favour.
And that carries unanimously. Moving on to committee business. First item of business is a council committee of the whole, and I will look to Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I would move that council adopt the minutes of the council committee of the whole meeting held Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2024, as presented.
Thank you for that. That motion is in order. Seeing no one with comments or questions, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Moving on to the strategic plan of 2022-2025, there was a brief update, and I'll look to Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I move that council approve the revised version of the strategic plan 2022 to 2025. And really, just speaking a moment to this, there was, other than maybe a word or two, we feel that we are on the right track in our strategic plan. Which is really good, because when you're halfway through and you see a lot of red flags going up in regards to what you should be looking at versus what you started looking at in the term, we still seem to be exactly where we want to be with our strategic planning and moving forward to the next term.
Thank you for that, Councillor Bosch. Seeing no questions in regards to the strategic plan that is in your package, I'll call the question. And that's carried unanimously. Moving on to item 8.2, the Invest GP committee meeting of February 20th. And I'll look to Councillor Bressie, who stepped in as chair that day.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I would move that council adopt the minutes of the Invest GP committee held February 20th, 2024 as presented.
Thank you for that. That motion is in order. Seeing no one in the queue, I'll call the question.
Councillor Bressie is in favor.
And that carries unanimously. Councillor Bressie, any highlights from your meeting?
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. It was an interesting start to the meeting as we had representatives from Number One Geothermal and Terrapan Thermetrics coming to talk about their project in the region and other opportunities for geothermal. And so I think it was a real educational meeting for council to start. And the rest of the meeting, we had our direct service area update, and we had a request for a letter for its telecommunications installation. So it was a very interesting start to a meeting and pretty quick after that.
All right. Thanks for that update. Moving on to item 8.3, the Operational Services Committee meeting of February 20th, and I'll look to Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I would move that council adopt the minutes of the Operational Services Committee meeting held February 20th, 2024. Ooh, I almost got tongue-tied there, as presented.
That motion is in order. Call the question.
Bressie in favor.
That too carries unanimously. Any highlights for your meeting, Councillor Thiessen?
Yeah, no, it was a short and sweet meeting, but two really big highlights I'd like to put out there. As council made it their intentions known that we wanted to increase transit ridership in the community, we got a report back on the early ridership numbers, and to speak to those, Chief Glavin had indicated that paratransit use was up almost 200%. As well as conventional transit use up 34%. Youth transit use was up 81%, which is really good. And on-demand transit was up 241% from previous years. So all those are good news stories, especially along the lines of the youth, as in order to educate our community that transit as a viable transportation solution, we got to get them while they're young. And being a young Edmonton transit rider, I know I have no fear of transit systems, and hopefully our kids that are learning to ride the bus here now, of all ages, with their free passes, will learn that as well, whether they stay here or move beyond us. Hopefully they stay here, because we're going to just improve the system as time goes on. Finally, we had a report on aesthetically enhanced naturalization from Mr. Case DeVries from our Parks Department, essentially talking with us about potential options that we could do to change the pilot project or to add maybe trees or other planters. That wasn't recommended at the time, as council and administration have already made several changes to the pilot project, mowing along Resources Road as well as in the Mission Heights area as well. So we're going to keep going with this pilot project for the next 2 years, and hopefully we'll work out all the bugs. And that is all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. Moving on to item 8.4, the Strategy and Communications Committee meeting held on February 20th. Looking to Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the minutes of the Strategy and Communications Committee meeting held on that day, February 20th.
February 20th, as presented. All right. So that motion to adopt those minutes is in order. Seeing no one in the queue, I'll call the question.
Councillor O'Toole in favor.
That carries unanimously. Any highlights for your meeting, Councillor O'Toole?
Yes, I've got a little bit of a update from our chief, Krekin, and we have the city clerk. Administration is currently investigating all avenues for conducting a municipal census. Collaboration is underway with various departments on bylaw and policy deployment, including stormwater permitting, administration, planning, and others. Record retention digitalization has begun to transition hard copy documents to digital cloud and cloud-based storage. Corporate communication, administration has worked on communicating the following items: stormwater utility consultation, Passionate Heart Awards, and the Eastlink Center Triathlon. Under the Intergovernmental Affairs A meeting will occur this week with local Indigenous leaders to receive feedback on the Indigenous training program that is in development. City Council met with Duncan First Nations Council administration, connected with Alberta Transportation, New Peace Regional Director on local transportation priorities, and the city participated in the municipal bonspiel with municipal neighbors and industry partners. 2 more items. The human resources. 3 practicum students have joined the organization in the following departments: events and entertainment, financial services, and legislative services. And the last items were corporate marketing, in line with new social media short form video strategy, a reel promoting roller skating at the Activity and Reception Center was posted on Facebook, Instagram, and received more than 25,000 views in less than 3 days. Roller skating takes place at the Activity Center every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastlink Center Triathlon is on July 7th. Sponsorship opportunities are now available, and all sponsorship and naming rights opportunities can be found online at thecityofgp.com/opportunities. And that is my report.
Thanks for that, Councillor O'Toole. Moving to item 8.5, the Public and Protective Services Committee meeting held February 20th, and I'll look to Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I'd like to move that Council adopt the minutes of the Public and Protective Services Committee meeting held February 20th as presented.
Thank you for that. That motion is in order. Seeing no one in the queue, I'll call a question. And that carries unanimously. Any highlights from your meeting, Councillor O'Connor?
Yes, I have a plethora of items to go through as Chief Lemieux is very busy. So phase 3 of the Coordinated Care Campus will be complete in the next few weeks. The Grande Prairie Police Service has been holding transition meetings with Public Safety Canada, RCMP Headquarters, and RCMP K Division. RCMP, or planning phase, is underway, taking into account community engagement held in the fall. Further engagement will be held with City Council, Administration, and Policing Committee before the end of March. From April 1st to 23 to February 11th, 24, 3,600 arrest warrants were issued, 460 proactive patrols in the downtown area, in addition to responding to calls for service. Community and social development exhibitors for Youth Career and Advisory Expo has reached a maximum 145 booths and 99 businesses. 23 schools have registered. 55 applications have been received for Communities Building Youth Futures microgrant. Sunrise House has been received for Chromebooks, 2 desktop Mac Minis, and 3D printer to ensure that youth receive for education and employment. In the housing and homelessness budgets for federal reaching home and provincial outreach support service initiatives, this will assist homeless individuals in obtaining and maintaining housing. The Community Knowledge Campus trained 12 new lifeguards, 7 new aquatics assistant staff, and Cascade Energy Services sponsored a free skate February 11th, having 80 participants and collected an impressive amount of non-perishables, and they held free skate on February 25th, sponsored by Canadian Controls, and CKC has had a 34.4% increase in members and a 32.4% increase in membership sold. So that is most of my highlights. I've skipped a little bit, but it's back to you.
Thanks, Councillor O'Connor. Moving on to item 9 in your package today, there are 2 items of correspondence. The first one being a letter from the Grande Prairie Regional Hospital Foundation thanking us for the support. The item there really is to talk about the street signs that we donate that they in turn auction off at the gala, the Festival of Trees. So thank you for that. And the second item of information is a letter received from Aquatera to ourselves, the County of Grande Prairie, and the town of Sexsmith, rather. It's an annual report that we get in regards to dividends and the declarations for 2024. It shows the mandatory dividend payout as well as the discretionary payout. The total dividends received from Aquatera from 2023 for 2024 is just over $4 million, and that information is in your package. We don't need any motion for the first one, but we'll take one for the second one. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. Happy to do business on the second piece of business there. And in that, I would move that council direct the mayor to sign the unanimous consent for discretionary dividends as requested by Aquatera Utilities, Inc. on behalf of the city of Grande Prairie. Just speaking to this is a bit of annual business as part of being a United shareholder and one of the larger shareholders of Aquatera, where we get a little bit of a dividend, a kickback for the business model doing well here. So at this point, I think it would be prudent to accept this, and then if we want to have discussion about where that goes, I think that's all in community conversation. Thank you very much.
So just to clarify, there's no kickback. This is a earned revenue through dividend and a shareholder agreement, and we're not one of, we are the single largest shareholder. So I just want to clarify that. That motion is in order, and I'll call the question.
Boy, you got to. All right, get your facts straight first.
That motion is carried unanimously. Moving on to delegation business. Today we had one delegation, great piece of business today. Council recognized the significant contribution made to the Sunrise House, and I was just looking for any business that may be arising. Councillor O'Toole.
Yes, I move to accept the delegation is for information.
Okay, so the presentation for information. Thanks for that, Councillor O'Toole. Call the question. And that carries unanimously. With that, there are no notices of motion, and we'll now go into recess. We'll see you back at 6 o'clock. Thank you. 1. Good evening and welcome back to the City Council meeting of February 26. We are now in our evening session. We will start under, I apologize. We are going to start with public hearings. Item number 15 on our today's agenda. I'm going to call this public hearing to order. Look for an introduction from administration, and I'll give Ms. Downing a second to get set up and then take it from there. Sorry, Ms. Downing, could you just pull your mic a little bit closer? Thank you.
The rural service area is the land that was annexed from the county in 2016. In order to ensure that the landowners would retain the same development rights they had while in the county, administration created new land use districts and regulations that mirrored the county's land use districts. This rezoning is the final phase in a phased approach, and it involves 50 properties on the east side of the city. The rezoning will create a less complicated regulatory framework, preserve development rights, and facilitate future development in the city. Significant landowner engagement has been undertaken. This includes a dedicated engagement site, notification letters specifically outlining the rezoning specific to each property, a notice of the public hearing. We've received a few phone calls with questions, however, no concerns were raised to us. The proposed amendment rezones properties to the equivalent cities districts, and the rezoning will not impact landowners' development rights or property taxes. Administration recommends that council give 3 readings to bylaw C 1260-179. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So that's an introduction from administration. Opportunity Council now to ask questions of administration. And I don't see anybody jumping, and nobody in the queue. So thank you, Ms. Downing. I think you're good for now. I will now ask if there's anyone here to speak in support of this land use bylaw amendment C-1260-179. I will also ask to see if there's anyone online or in the room to speak in support of this land use bylaw amendment, and a third time to see if there's anyone here to speak in support of this land use bylaw amendment 1260-179. I will now ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition of this land use bylaw amendment in the chambers or online. If you're here to speak in opposition, you're welcome to come to the table. If you're here to speak in opposition a second time, I'll ask anyone in opposition to come forward for land use bylaw amendment C-1260-179. And I'll ask a third time if there's anyone here to speak in opposition of this land use bylaw amendment. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and look to business arising. Councillor Bressie.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I would move the council. Oh, I lost the details. There it is. I'd move the council give first readings to bylaw C-1260-179, being an amendment to the land use bylaw.
Thank you, Councillor Bressie. That motion is in order. There is no discussion or debate on first reading, so I'll call the question. Please vote. One moment, please. Just one moment, please. That carries unanimously. Recognizing Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, on the document it shows bylaw C-1260-177. Is that correct? Should be 179.
Mine shows 179. Oh, in the staff report? In the document. Hang on one second. Okay.
Good catch.
Just a pretty.
You're right.
Missed everything.
On page 2, between the map and the, okay. All right. I'll recognize Councillor Bressie.
Sure. I would move that council give second reading to bylaw C1260-179. And just curious, do we need to move an amendment with it, or are we?
It's a correction.
Yep. It's just in the main top of the bylaw, it's correct. And on the third page, just the one little piece on the second page that will be updated.
Great. Well, happy to just stand by this motion as is, then just speak to it. I think this is a fairly routine matter as we're figuring out, as we make sure that our land use bylaw is applicable to all properties across the city. I want to make sure that it's easy for people who own property to understand what their rights are with that property. And I think that gets complicated when we're asking them to refer to an old county land use bylaw. And so I hope the council will support this today.
Perfect. Discussion or debate on the bylaw, land use bylaw amendment. Seeing no one in the queue, I'll call the question.
Bressie in favor?
That carries unanimously. Recognizing Councillor Bressie.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I'd move that council have third reading of bylaw C1260-179 at this meeting.
A motion is in order. In order for us to have third reading here today, this must pass unanimously. Seeing no one in the queue with discussion or debate, I'll call the question. That carries unanimously. Councillor Bressie.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. And I would move the council have third reading of bylaw C1260-179.
All right. So this is third reading for bylaw C-1260-179, being an amendment to the land use bylaw. Seeing no one in the queue, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that too carries unanimously. No delegation business tonight, and now we'll move to council member reports, and I'm going to go to Councillor Blackmore to see if she has anything first so that I don't forget her as she's joining us online today.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I only have two things to talk about. I joined council to have lunch with the Duncan First Nations 2 weeks ago, just about. It was really good to hear what they're working on and the things that are new in their band management, band governance. The day after that, on Valentine's Day, I attended Passionate Heart event at the Bose Center. Congratulations to all the people who won Passionate Heart awards. Great lunch and a wonderful time. And for the rest of the time, I've been out of town, so that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Councillor Blackmore. I'll go to Councillor Palat next.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. Highlights of my last few weeks here. I had an economic advisory committee. Good conversation. I want to thank our CEO for jumping in on that one, giving us some big picture updates as well. We discussed our investment attraction pitch book, which we're hoping to have ready for the end of March, which I'm looking forward to. Also had a good conversation about starting a small business in Grande Prairie and what that looks like. And our team is working on some grant funding to be able to offer more information to businesses that are starting up, because it is quite overwhelming when you're starting a small business. So I think that's going to be a good fit for our Invest GP team. Was fortunate enough to attend a Massaquoi Medical Center, planning committee meeting. So seen some beautiful renderings of the 68,000 square foot potential building and heard of some potential tenants, which I think we've all talked about at this table a lot, is going to be a huge win for our region. So it's nice seeing that group take huge steps forward, and the commitment of that group is huge. Lastly, I had a Grande Prairie Public Library meeting. We had our annual reports. Just to highlight a few of the annual report information, we have over 10,000 active card members in Grande Prairie, which I thought was quite high for our city, which was nice to see. We had over 200,000 in-person visits at the building, and our circulations are holding their own in that kind of 500,000 range per year. And with that, that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Plott. Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I attended the Duncan First Nation lunch, the Economic Advisory Committee. Passionate Heart Awards, the Alberta Winter Games. I was greeted St. Albert, Westlock, and Canmore. Attended wrestling, speed skating, ringette, and fencing. And person after person's statements like, amazing, I've never been here before and was pleasantly surprised. So that's the one thing. I don't know if we should, go, shh, don't let anybody know how good we are. Or I'm kind of conflicted in saying, yeah, we got to let people know that we are one of the best places in the province to visit. Kudos to all volunteers, and special thanks to Councillor Dylan Bressy, who did an outstanding job. It was amazing. And to Councillor O'Toole, who spent 4 12 to 14-hour days in the kitchen cooking for people. Kudos to you, sir. Yeah. And attended Growing the North. All the speakers were awesome, and I really have sent kudos out to the people that chose the speakers. And I attended a resiliency and recovery workshop, planning before and after a fire. Very, very good session. I'm pleased to have gone to that, and spent with the Youth Advisory Committee at the coldest night of the year with them, and they were such an energetic group. So thank you. That's my report.
Thanks for that. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I'll start with the lunch with the Duncan First Nations. That was my first opportunity to meet the chief and several of their council, and really good to meet people that live near us, that want to do business and have the everyday items that like housing and such with the city of Grande Prairie. So relationships like that are tremendous, and we look forward to working with them in the future. I also attended the Grande Prairie Local Immigration Partnership meeting, and that in that meeting, I would say the biggest takeaway is the continuation of the community compass. And now that was kind of put on hold through COVID. And what that is a coordinated system of care with service agencies and organizations. So somebody that needs a specific organization or a system of care can go on this compass and easily find what they need, all in one package. So that was really good to see that coming back. I attended the Passionate Heart Awards with several councillors and the mayor as well. So congratulations to all the well-deserving recipients of that. Next was the CAB meeting, so the Community Advisory Board on Housing and Homelessness. We had a presentation from the Wapiti Community Support Association, so Wapiti House and St. Lawrence Center. And often we talk about all the negative numbers when we're dealing with housing and homelessness, mental health and addictions issues. But I just want to speak to a couple items that we also talked about. 192 referrals for housing, resulting in 41 individuals housed in the last 180 days. 47 individuals relocated to natural and sustainable supports in the last 180 days. An average of 38 individuals accessing substance recovery in the last 30 days. And an average of 21 individuals accessing trauma counseling every 30 days. So the hard work of all of our staff and organizations who just put everything they have into helping people who are struggling. So a big thank you to them, and it was great to hear some positive numbers coming out. I attended the Storm Board meeting, and quite honestly, the Storm is just trying to navigate and figure out what is going on with the changes in our AJHL league right now, and with some of about 5 teams leaving to the BCHL. And so where does that leave the Alberta League? So right now it's just a bit up in the air, but our team is doing great, and there is a in April 18th, I want to say. I'll have to check back. A storm dinner again with some Oiler alumni. So for sure, get your tickets for that. I also attended the Growing the North Chamber Mixer. Really, really full. Nice to see our many visitors and our locals interacting, as well as the Growing the North Conference. Thank you to the organizers, and tons of business sessions that I attended, and a lot of information on global and local what's going on, whether it's economic or social or future numbers in population and so forth. And a big congratulations to the athletes, coaches, visitors, volunteers, Alberta Winter Games Board, staff from the city and regional partners for all their work on the Alberta Winter Games.
Thanks for that, Councillor Bosch. I'll just ask, because you're the on the Storm Board, I saw online and was reminded that the Grande Prairie Storm have a new mascot, and his name's Stormy. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about him.
Yes, Stormy just showed up here this week, this last weekend, and came out to show off who he is. I think he's kind of a image after Zeus. He doesn't quite look like Zeus, but he definitely looks like a Stormy. And there was a number of entries that came in from a number of kids, younger and older, and the board then chose a representative for the Storm team, so that's great. And I did find what I was looking for, because I made a mistake. Friday, April 19th is celebrity dinner for the Storm fundraiser. So Craig McTavish, Jason Strudwick, and Bob Stoffer will be telling their tales and entertaining everybody who comes there. So get your tickets, buy a table or two, and support our Storm. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for that. Councillor O'Toole, chef extraordinaire, I hear.
Well, let's get something straight right off the bat. I didn't do any cooking, so, but I was there to clean up the mess from 4 o'clock in the morning till I got up at 4, was there at 5, and didn't get home till 10 each night. And I enjoyed it very much. It was nice to see the young kids come up and thank you for showing the city off to us, and or to them, and also the good food and accommodations. They were most of them ate at the Composite High School, and they couldn't believe that the school that cool in Alberta. So, but one girl, I walked by and I seen her plate didn't have any vegetables on it. She says, "There's cookies, and my mom's not here, so you can't tell me nothing." So she had a meal of cookies. But I did.
Like a woman of your own heart, right?
Well, I'm a cookie fan myself. I just wanted to let you know that I did also attend a lunch with the Duncan First Nation Passionate Hearts Awards, and the Alberta Winter Games last meeting was on the 14th. I'm going to say I want a big thank you to all the staff and the Rotary people and all the volunteers that made these games a huge success. I never met anybody that had a complaint. They were all very, very excited, except for the last day when they had 11-hour drive to Lethbridge. They were looking for maybe a flight back, but it was great. I did attend the Growing the North conference, and once again, there was some awesome speakers there talking about economics and the future of the world. And I also attended a partial day with the Resilience and Recovery Workshop, and I attended the coldest night of the year. It's a fundraiser and awareness for the Mental Health Association. And going on to my duties as counselor as well. My committees. We've had a few few companies, promoters reach out and want to put on some MMA again here soon. So the talk is coming. I got a local promoter that's trying to get stuff together. We've got a couple of events there that we're not really sure we want to host, and I'll keep that till we either accept them or deny them. And other than that, nothing to report on my other committees.
Thanks for that, Councillor Toole. Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you, Mayor Clayton. Well, I feel it's incumbent on me to also talk about the games, and want to thank Councillors O'Toole, Councillor O'Connor for their work. Want to thank, I had the privilege of leading the ambassador program. Want to thank my 90 ambassadors for how awesome they did. We literally set a record for marshalling athletes in and out of opening ceremonies, a time record, so that was exciting for me. But most importantly, they just did such a great job of everything from helping figure out sandwich deliveries to being at schools at 3 a.m. that were causing problems for our regular security staff. My team sure went above and beyond, so really thankful for them, and really thankful for all the city staff we had that were volunteering their time to make these games awesome, going way and above their job duties or stepping out of their job duties completely to make sure that they were giving some time to our community, to these kids. So thank you to all of our staff, and also thank you to my Alberta Municipalities board members who came up, and I made them work harder than anybody else on my team while they were here. So appreciated some colleagues coming up here. So thank you everybody that made those games a success. I really appreciate it, and I know the athletes did as well. Sandwiched before and after the games, I had lots of Alberta municipalities responsibilities. The day before, I got to have an audit finance committee meeting, and 2 days after, I got to have a Municipal Service Corporation meeting. And this is horribly boring to all of you, but exciting to me. The Municipal Insurance Exchange has switched over to IFRS 17 accounting standards, and after a couple years of work, we got to finish restating our books. And like I said, horribly boring to all of you, but that was
making our CFO happy. That's it. Everyone else.
We'll talk IFRS 17. So
yeah.
But it's exciting stuff.
Well done.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. I'll talk to you about the curves and things we use. But I got to do that. I got to do my Alberta Municipalities Board meeting as well. I got to attend this weekend. After all that hard work, I got to go to the free skate at DesignWorks, sponsored by CDN Controls. And so thank you to that company for the free skating, the free cookies, the free hot chocolate. My kids and a couple hundred other residents really enjoyed that. And last thing I'll report on is I got to attend a police commission meeting with Councillor O'Toole, and just the transition's going really well. It's our chief and his staff have been doing a fulsome review of enforcement services, and I think the community in the next couple months is going to see even better work out of that group as we give it closer supervision. I'm excited for that, but I'm really excited to report on recruitment. As I'm sure council's aware, we've got our first call out for new recruits right now, and there's been over 100 applicants. And Chief has said, an informal looking over them, a huge pool of quality candidates, of diverse candidates, and so I'm really excited to see who gets hired in that first pool of recruits. But there's reason to be excited right now, and so really enjoying the work that I get to do with Councillor O'Toole and the rest of my commissioners over there.
Thanks, Councillor Bressie. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. Yeah, just like most of council, it's been a busy 2 weeks since the previous council meeting. I'll just start off with my my appointed committees for externals. As Councillor Bosch intimated, we did have a community advisory board on housing and homelessness on February 15th. I'm the council rep. She's the downtown association rep, but we do double duty sometimes, and I did ask her to be there on my behalf because I wasn't sure I was going to be able to attend, which I was able to attend. So I was happy to be there. But thank you for reporting on that for me, Councillor Bosch. It takes some of my stuff away. Also with the Youth Advisory Council, with Councillor O'Connor, perhaps the youngest member of council, joined our youngest council members on Youth Advisory Council for the coldest night of the year. We had a great turnout of kids. I think there was like 7 or 8 of them out of the 18 that are currently on youth council, and they brought the spirit. Normally Mike O'Connor is the one that's bringing the spirit, but he didn't have to do much. They were blowing his energy and keeping him afloat too. So it was really good to take part in that with youth council, and I look forward to our dinner with them tomorrow night as well. We had a Grand Spirit Foundation meeting on February 23rd, this past Friday. Just some highlights from that meeting. We struck a new policy committee at Grand Spirit Foundation, which is surprising that we never had one to begin with. But my experience with it is administration looks at the policies, how outdated they are, and we review them every 5 years. We just struck a whole committee to review all the policies because many of them, like the world, is changing so fast, and so our policies need to change just as quickly. So that was struck. I was not appointed to that committee. I was grateful because I've already on 3 other committees for Grand Spirit Foundation, but happy to share the load. We also made a request for information or request for interest on the old Pleasant View Lodge, which has some asbestos removal that'll need to happen there. But we're hoping that the town of Spirit River will be able to take it and make an asset out of it. Word on the street is that there are some private interests looking to establish daycare there, so that hopefully will alleviate some of the pressures throughout our region. We also agreed to partnership, P3 partnership with the Atkinson Group in regards to building on the Smith lands that the city is working out with the Grand Spirit Foundation. This is just so that we have all clear project goals and timelines and what our funding requirements are. Standard stuff for that, and establishing the memorandum of understanding between us was approved by the board. As it was already stated, I also attended the Passionate Heart Awards and the meeting with Duncan First Nations. Always great to break bread with our regional neighbors. And just a comment on the Passionate Heart Awards, I'm always excited to see who wins the big award at the Passionate Heart Awards, the Chris Henderson Award for valuable service for years and years at Dedication. And that award went to Tammy Willette, who's been quite the player in our community, currently working at Centerpoint, but she's done a lot of work moving the needle in suicide prevention, as well as being a big community player and a downtown business owner with her husband and stuff. So very well earned and deserved. And I want a loonie off of Councillor O'Connor because we bet on who would win. Well, we only bet 1 loonie, yeah, but I got 2 loonies in the end. Thank you for yours. And then, I also attended the Alberta Winter Games. I didn't volunteer except for handing out medals, which I came to the table a little late. But coming to the table a little late really makes you, well, it made me awestruck by how many good and willing volunteers that we have in our community. Because when I came to the table with 2 weeks to go going, what can I do? They're like, well, we already got over 100 more volunteers than we actually need. And there was a time where they weren't sure they were going to hit the 1,500 volunteers that they needed. They got over 1,600 volunteers. And of that, I'm very proud to say that several of them are sitting on our council. The O team bringing the spirit and doing all the dirty work. And Councillor Bressie, for his pretty smiling face as in the ambassador program, really helped to set the games off and showcase Grande Prairie for what we're really, really good at, which is, letting people have a good time. And no, I'm not going to shush about that because we need to tell our story, Councillor O'Connor. We need to tell our story more and more. So happy to see all those smiling faces. And as a spectator and a medal giver, I got to take in most of the events except for what happened at the ski hill. So wrestling, ringette, archery, figure skating, swimming, curling, fencing, gymnastics, and volleyball were all on my docket for the sports that I got to take in. And most of them I had never seen live before. So such an honor and a thrill and such a privilege to be able to host those kids for these games. Finally, the Growing the North Conference last week. This is probably, the second day was probably the strongest set of speakers I've ever seen at Growing the North. 15 years that they've been doing this, and I've been going for 12. And that second day, those speakers were phenomenal. I even got stressed by Councillor O'Connor for listening too loudly. But it was amazing. It was an amazing thing. So we should send out big kudos to the Chamber of Commerce, Community Futures, the county, the MD, and all the city people who came together to make Growing the North happen, and so that we can actually grow the North and make it as great as we know it already is, probably greater. That's all I got. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Councillor Thiessen. Many of the things that I attended over the last few weeks have already been mentioned. Enjoyed introducing council to Chief Gladue and her colleagues. That was a thorough discussion. Also had the opportunity to meet with representatives from AltaGas, who are the organization that acquired Tidewater and their gas projects locally. So they got me up to speed, and I've asked that they come back to speak to all of council, so you'll learn more about the projects that they're working on. Had the opportunity to bring greetings and support at the Passionate Hearts Awards as well. Had a meeting with Minister Scow and Travel Alberta during the Alberta Winter Games, and members of our administration. It was a good conversation in regards to what's potential in our region as they continue to support and grow tourism. As mentioned by many of my colleagues, I just want to say thank you. The Alberta Winter Games, in my opinion, achieved its goal of being the best Winter Games ever. It was from the board of directors led by Mike Hussey to the input that our organization had. We had 1,500 volunteers, parents from across the province, obviously athletes and officials from across the province, the generous donors and supporters of the games. But really what it came down to is the people that experienced this. They went to sports that they may not have been to before. They put their hand up. They did multiple shifts under multiple sort of venues and multiple organizations and demands. The vibe in the opening ceremonies, the vibe in the closing ceremonies. This, as mentioned by many of my colleagues, was the opportunity for us to shine, and we did just that. This is why we host these games, to show off our facilities, to remind people how privileged we are to live in this region and what a great opportunity it is to not only visit this region, but to consider to invest and live here. I think that we achieved that on many levels. Many people and other elected officials came up to me and said, wow, I had no idea. And many times did we hear, you have Calgary and Edmonton level facilities, but you have a community that you have the opportunity to get around to anywhere within 15 minutes. And so we highlighted what we do well. We really showed off our facilities and our great warm hospitality, but we really just embraced the games and provided an experience and a memory for those youth that will be second to none as they grow up and experience things. They'll always look back to that great time they had in Grande Prairie. So one of the mayors said to me, it just seems like your organization really engages in this. And I said, yeah, this is, in my opinion, part of our core business. It's what we do well. And our team leads and many of our directors and people within our organization, they just love to do this work, and you can tell. We're very passionate about it. They are exceptional at it, and really it's something we should hold our head high on because it was an exceptional games, and I truly believe it was the best Winter Games Alberta's ever seen. Now we're on to the National Aboriginal Hockey Championships, and so in May, we have the privilege of being the first Alberta community to host 8 men's teams and 8 women's teams, U18 hockey, again, highlight our facilities and really host people and introduce them sometimes for the first time to our community. So I look forward to that. I also had the opportunity to attend Growing the North. During that, myself, as well as some of council colleagues in our administration, had the opportunity to meet with Minister Jones, Minister McIver. We had a Zoom call with Minister Nally as well, met with Prairie's Can, who would you could equate to as a federal economic development initiative. But one of the things that I thought was really important for us to recognize was that interprovincial fuel solutions in announced their MOU, which is the third MOU in the Greenview Industrial Gateway. So the MD highlighted that MOU, and this organization is an organization that will take natural gas and convert it into clean fuel, which will meet the expectations of our fueling emissions ahead of schedule. And so this is really a highlight for the MD, and I was really proud of the work that they were able to do to bring this organization to the table. So I look forward to seeing where they end up next. Over the weekend, I had an opportunity to have a meeting with MLA Nolan Dick, tell him about the work we're doing, him getting up to speed on that as they head this week to Edmonton and session starts. So I look forward to the provincial budget on Thursday, and I think that with that, I will thank Council again and our organization for all the work that they did during the Winter Games, and I wish everyone a good night. Meeting adjourned.